Zhoning's marriage was rather unique within her circle of friends. Firstly, it was a case of an older woman and a younger man in a romantic relationship. Secondly, it followed the pattern of a woman being strong outside while the man is weak inside, with Zhoning taking on the role of the breadwinner. Thirdly, her husband, Jiang Jing, possessed exceptional charisma. Some people mocked Zhoning, saying that choosing a partner based on looks would inevitably lead to ending up with a mediocre man. Zhoning was oblivious to all of this and naturally didn't care. Even if someone dared to ridicule her to her face, she would simply retort, "Everyone is responsible for their own lives. I'll bear the consequences of my choices. What's it to you?" Afterward, she would simply delete that person from her friends list. In truth, Zhoning didn't find her marriage unbearable at all. In her opinion, true love was a rare luxury in this world, and simply having it was fortunate enough. Why pursue perfection in everything? Zhoning's close friend, Wenjing, understood Zhoning's unease before marriage, as she was raised as an adopted daughter and witnessed her struggles in supporting the family after marriage. Wenjing felt sorry for her and couldn't help but express her discontent. "Zhoning, aren't you tired? Why don't you choose a man who cherishes you?" She emphasized the last two words. Zhoning understood what her friend meant. In the eyes of many, Jiang Jing didn't understand love, only taking without giving, immature, lacking responsibility, essentially an immature child. At times, Zhoning even thought so herself. But when something arose that Jiang Jing had to bear responsibility for, he stepped up to the plate. So, Zhoning thought for a moment before saying to her friend, "Wenjing, love hasn't been abundant in my early life. I'm grateful for what I have. I've experienced many dark and despairing moments where I wanted to give up on my marriage. But I remind myself, divorce isn't a panacea for life's troubles. As long as there's a possibility of safeguarding my marriage, I can't easily give up. Look, in this battle to defend my marriage, haven't I emerged victorious in the end?" It's said that even in the happiest of marriages, there are countless moments when one feels like strangling their partner, when they want to storm out without a care, when thoughts of divorce creep in. Zhoning was no exception to this. The first time she entertained thoughts of divorce was in the hospital during childbirth. At that time, the maternity ward was overcrowded, so Zhoning ended up spending 2 days in the hallway outside the bathroom. The smell from the bathroom, the occasional drafts in the hallway, and the pain from her wound drove her to the brink of madness. Her husband, Jiang Jing, who was as clumsy as a big boy, was more preoccupied with their daughter. When the doctor came to check on her and asked Zhoning to remove her clothes to examine the recovery of her birth wound, Jiang Jing stood by without doing anything. Zhoning couldn't help but cry out to him with a hint of tears in her voice, "Honey, can you please hold up the blanket for me?" Jiang Jing quickly agreed and hastily held up the blanket. A lady in the neighboring bed couldn't bear to see this and got up to help. 2 strangers passing by in the hallway also curiously glanced over. That glance made Zhoning feel embarrassed and despondent. She glanced at the other mothers nearby who were being well taken care of by their husbands, feeling sad inside. "Jiang Jing, when can I truly rely on you?" But upon returning home from the hospital and seeing her adorable daughter, her kind mother-in-law, and Jiang Jing, who may be clumsy but was also gentle, the thought of divorce vanished without a trace. Zhoning's second contemplation of divorce occurred when Jiang Jing resigned from his job without consulting her. At that time, their daughter was 6 months old, and Zhoning's mother-in-law's eye condition hadn't relapsed yet, so she was helping to take care of the child. Zhoning worked in HR at a company, while Jiang Jing was a teacher at an art training school. Their combined income was less than 10,000 yuan. After paying the mortgage and covering expenses for diapers, formula, and the family's living expenses, they had to budget every penny. When Jiang Jing abruptly quit his job and returned home, Zhoning felt uneasy. She immediately asked him, "Honey, why did you quit your job without discussing it with me?" Jiang Jing replied, "There were too many issues as the head teacher, and they always found fault with me. They intentionally scheduled a lot of classes for me on weekends." Upon hearing this, Zhoning, using her expertise in human resources, gently persuaded him, "Oh, I see. I understand. Since you've already quit, let's not dwell on that experience. Objectively speaking, Even if your superiors were fault-finding, you should still reflect on their criticisms and suggestions. If you feel there are too many weekend classes exceeding your workload, you can voice your concerns. After all, excessive teaching loads that compromise quality can lead to parental complaints and affect your school's reputation. So, prepare well for interviews and job hunting. Jiang Jing didn't appreciate Zhou Ning's negotiation-like attitude. He walked away with their daughter in his arms, saying as he left, "I'm not in a hurry to find a job. I want to spend time with my adorable little sweetheart." At that moment, Zhou Ning felt powerless. She wanted to ask loudly, "Without formula, without diapers, unable to pay the mortgage, how can you spoil our daughter?" But seeing Jiang Jing happily playing with their daughter, she decided to let it go. However, no one expected that Jiang Jing's resignation would be followed by his mother's eye condition relapsing, and he wouldn't return to the workforce for the next 3 years. When Zhou Ning's mother-in-law's eye condition relapsed, and she was hospitalized for over a month, it depleted the family's remaining savings. Despite the efforts, the outcome was her mother-in-law losing sight in her right eye and experiencing blurry vision in her left eye. With the family's finances tight, Zhou Ning dared not resign from her job. However, her mother-in-law insisted on returning to their hometown. Jiang Jing, always filial, discussed with Zhou Ning, "Ning, my mom's eyesight is deteriorating, and I can't bear to leave her alone. Asking is still young and doesn't need to attend school yet. Let me take them back to our hometown." Filial piety was something Zhou Ning had always admired about Jiang Jing, and she couldn't fault him now. Half-jokingly, she teased, "So, from now on, I'll be the breadwinner, and you'll be responsible for looking beautiful, right?" Understanding Zhou Ning's tough exterior and tender heart, Jiang Jing hugged her and said, "You've worked hard." Jiang Jing's return home cemented their dynamic of Zhou Ning being the breadwinner, while he managed household affairs, solidifying the woman strong outside, man weak inside label for their marriage. Someone jokingly asked Zhou Ning, "How does it feel to be a strong woman?" Zhou Ning laughed and cried, "I'm not a strong woman. I'm just struggling to make a living. If I could, who wouldn't want to be a carefree, dependent woman, free from worries?" Zhou Ning's career struggles were indeed strenuous. With Jiang Jing resigning, she became the sole earner in the family. Her fixed salary from her HR job couldn't cover expenses, so she took on a sales job. Although the income was decent, the frequent social gatherings, obligatory drinking, and flattering words she had to say were unbearable for her. Eventually, she switched to a telemarketing job. Through her diligence and hard work, she quickly rose to become a team leader, earning over 10,000 yuan a month if her performance was good. Compared to Zhou Ning's daily struggles, Jiang Jing's life seemed to be picking chrysanthemums by the eastern fence, leisurely viewing the southern mountain. During a stroll in their hometown market, a shopkeeper remarked, "You two look so young, like siblings." At that moment, Zhou Ning was baffled, and Jiang Jing was flustered. Unusually, he snapped back, "What are you talking about, shopkeeper? No wonder your business is so bad. Can't you see properly?" Zhou Ning returned home with a dark expression, but inside, she was crying. She had often sized Jiang Jing up. He was wearing the yellow hoodie she had bought for him, looking nothing like a 30-year-old man. With his clean and fair skin, he truly resembled a young man in his early 20s. On the other hand, she was dressed in a black professional skirt, with a dull complexion, looking weary and weathered. At 30 years old, she felt like she was living the life of a 40-year-old woman, so it wasn't surprising that the shopkeeper mistook them. But she couldn't shake off the feeling of unease, not until her mother-in-law suddenly passed away. Her mother-in-law passed away in the middle of the night from a sudden cerebral hemorrhage. The elderly neighbors all said she passed away peacefully, without suffering. After all, in this day and age, who else's son would be willing to stay in their hometown to take care of their elderly mother? And who else's daughter-in-law could do what Zhou Ning did, working hard to support her family? When Zhou Ning returned home for the funeral, facing the enthusiastic praise from the neighbors, she felt extremely uncomfortable. As she collapsed into tears late at night from exhaustion, as she returned home after a hard day's work only to find herself alone, and as she and Jiang Jing were mistaken for mother and son on the street, Her heart was filled with resentment and unwillingness. But at this moment, as she looked at Jiang Jing, immersed in inconsolable grief, and at her mother-in-law's peaceful smile in the photograph, Zhou Ning felt grateful. She had hidden all her emotions of collapse, but at least she had fulfilled Jiang Jing's duty as a son, leaving him with no regrets. After dealing with the aftermath of the funeral, Jiang Jing returned to the city with his daughter. After a few months of rest, he enrolled his daughter in kindergarten and began searching for a job. During these 3 years, he had grown accustomed to a relaxed and carefree pace of life. His first job as an art teacher was short-lived because he disliked the sales quotas and felt the job wasn't pure enough. He quit after just 2 months. His second job as an art editor didn't last long either because he felt tired of staring at the computer screen all day editing images. He resigned again in less than 3 months. His third job as a course consultant ended abruptly because he couldn't handle the sales pressure. He quit after only half a month. After this series of job changes, Jiang Jing had spent more money on clothes and items for each new job than he earned in monthly childcare fees for their daughter. Meanwhile, Zhou Ning was competing with another colleague for a promotion opportunity to become a business manager. She felt pressured by her department manager to meet performance targets every day. Unable to bear it any longer, after their daughter fell asleep one night, they had their most intense argument since they had known each other. Zhou Ning was harsh in her words, saying, "Jiang Jing, you're not a child anymore. Running away when faced with problems and avoiding work pressures won't solve anything. Your mother is no longer with us. You are now the pillar of our family. When will you grow up? I'm tired too. I hate telemarketing and I'm annoyed by our bosses pressuring us for performance every day and staying late for meetings every night. But we need to live. We need that income. There's a balance between enduring and gaining. Isn't that reasonable?" Jiang Jing looked at the agitated Zhou Ning and retorted, "Fine, I'll just take asking back to our hometown." This retort made Zhou Ning burst into tears. She felt so desperate that she almost gave up. She turned and ran into the guest room, locking the door and burying herself under the covers, crying herself to sleep. The stress and anxiety from her life were magnified infinitely in her dreams. That night, Zhou Ning dreamed of her biological parents chasing her away with sticks, her foster parents holding a knife to her throat after having their own child, her boss demanding performance improvements, and the kindergarten principal demanding tuition fees from her. All the important people in her life were either driving her away or chasing her to settle debts. Everyone had grown 3 heads and 6 arms, except for her, who was alone, fleeing in all directions. She called out to Jiang Jing with all her might, but he ignored her. That night, Zhou Ning slept deeply, exhausted. She woke up at 6:30, her throat sore. As usual, she got up, prepared breakfast, and went awake asking. However, she found herself unable to speak. She had no choice but to nudge Jiang Jing, who was still asleep. He was supposed to be the pillar of strength in her life, but at this moment, he was just an angry little boy hiding under the covers. As Jiang Jing was awakened, still somewhat emotional, he saw Zhou Ning urgently gesturing to her throat and waving her hands. He immediately realized that something was wrong. In a dazed state, Jiang Jing rubbed his eyes without understanding. Zhou Ning had to turn to the living room to grab her phone and typed out for him to see, "I can't speak." Jiang Jing was shocked, his mind filled with guesses. As he dressed, he said, "Let's go to the hospital." Zhou Ning continued typing for him, "Let's take ask to kindergarten first, then go to the hospital." In his flustered state, Jiang Jing even buttoned his clothes incorrectly. Seeing him like this, Zhou Ning felt powerless yet softened, typing, "Don't panic, take it slow." With that, she placed Ask's clothes by the bed and went to the kitchen. In the kitchen, Zhou Ning searched on her phone for reasons for sudden loss of speech, becoming increasingly trembling as she read. Stroke, cranial injury, cerebral hemorrhage, brain injury. Those words frightened Zhou Ning. Putting aside the question of whether she could afford the treatment now, Jiang Jing hadn't worked for 3 years, and Ask had just started kindergarten. If she were ill, what would happen to these 2 children? Zhou Ning handed the test results to the doctor, gripping tightly with both hands, waiting for the verdict. The doctor began with, The CT scan results are all good. Then asked, what do you usually do for work? Do you experience a lot of stress? Zhou took out her tightly clenched phone and typed, telemarketing, chasing targets every day. It's quite stressful. The doctor asked again, and your husband? Zhou glanced at Jiang Jing, who then awkwardly scratched his head and said, Doctor, I stay home to take Ask to school. No fixed job. The doctor paused, then looked at Zhou and said, you might want to reconsider your current job. Zhou nodded numbly, thinking, even if I want to, I can't do it. She looked at Jiang Jing expressionlessly again. Seeing that Jiang Jing didn't ask the doctor anything else, she typed again, how long will it take for me to recover? It was only then that Jiang Jing understood Zhou glance at him and anxiously looked at the doctor. The doctor glanced at both of them before speaking. It's hard to say. Speech loss caused by emotional and stress issues varies from person to person. Some recover in a few months, some in a few years, and some may never speak again. Zhou face grew even paler at the words. Jiang Jing saw this and, since the doctor didn't urge them to leave, quickly asked, Doctor, are there any precautions for this condition? Maintain a happy mood, ensure good sleep. Don't push yourself too hard. Jiang Jing thanked the doctor and carefully led Zhou Ning out of the doctor's office. In the taxi, Zhou Ning clenched the test report in her hand so tightly that her fingertips turned white, burying her head in her knees, hugging herself. Jiang Jing was at a loss beside her, awkwardly trying to comfort Zhou Ning. It'll be okay. Ning, you'll definitely be fine. The sentence Zhou Ning had been hoping for, and there's me. I can support the family, never came. At the moment she accepted the disappointment in her heart, her tears finally slipped through her fingers. Life's tough challenges never give you time to prepare. You either catch them as they come, or you catch them even if you can't. Zhou Ning's illness cost her job, cutting off the household income. With a solemn expression on her face, Zhou Ning no longer saw Jiang Jing engrossed in dramas or playing games. It was only after a night of drinking with friends, returning home and crying breathlessly, that Jiang Jing felt a twinge of pity and guilt. He began earnestly searching for a job. Finally, he chose to work as a property sales agent at a real estate agency, attracted by the high commission. Before the property officially went on sale, Jiang Jing rehearsed countless scripts at home, practicing his smile and posture in front of the mirror, while Zhou Ning and Ask pretended to be critical customers. Ask thought it was a new game her parents had come up with, often giggling uncontrollably. But she would also ask from time to time, Mom, why aren't you talking? Zhou Ning pinched her throat and covered her mouth, performing with her daughter. It was difficult to speak. While amusing Ask, Jiang Jing felt a pang of sadness. He became more dedicated to his sales job, often working late into the night. On the night the property sold out, Jiang Jing sent a message in advance that they were having a celebration and not to leave any food. When Jiang Jing returned home drunk that night, he barged in shouting, Ning, where's my Ning? Concerned about their sleeping daughter, Zhou Ning urgently gestured for him to be quiet.
Clearly inebriated young ing hukets ho ning anside ning sorry.
I haven't given you a good life, making you suffer with me. I hate myself too. Seeing the vulnerability of the boy who had been unguarded after getting drunk, Zhou Ning felt a mix of confusion and deep sorrow. No one was at fault, it was just life. But the next day, Jiang Jing forgot everything and left home confidently once again. Slowly, Jiang Jing's monthly salary increased from 3,000 to 5,000, 8,000, and then over 10,000. Their roles reversed. Zhou Ning stayed at home while Jiang Jing went from a salesperson to a sales manager. The once innocent-looking boy had grown into a man, adept at telling white lies, deftly avoiding situations, and humorously diffusing tension. He became increasingly proficient at it, handling it effortlessly. When Jing began to worry about Zhou Ning again, Zhou Ning, you need to keep an eye on Jiang Jing. His harmless puppy dog look is very appealing to women. Zhou Ning thanked her sincerely but didn't pay much attention to it. One night, Jiang Jing came home drunk again, pestering Zhou Ning and saying drunkenly, Ning, someone's hitting on me outside, but I ignore them, okay? I hate socializing, I hate the taste of alcohol, I hate the leader's habit of always asking for cigarettes. Who does he think he is? Ning Ning, I understand how hard it was for you before. I get why you chose telemarketing. I was foolish back then. You've been through a lot. Ning Ning, thank you for being so tolerant of me before. Ning Ning, I promise to work hard and give you and ask a good life. After saying this, Jiang Jing fell asleep, but Zhou Ning was in tears. The grievances and hardships she had swallowed before suddenly found understanding and acceptance. Those days of silently enduring suddenly turned into dust, scattered throughout the room, and gently smoothed away by the tears that choked her. Over the past 2 years, life passed by amidst Jiang Jing's drunken tears and laughter. During this time, Zhou Ning slowly recovered, and her income from writing novels became more stable. Finally, one evening when Jiang Jing was drunk and crying again, Zhou Ning made a solemn decision. The next morning, Zhou Ning handed Jiang Jing a bank card. Confused, Jiang Jing accepted it, and Zhou Ning passed him several pages of paper. As he read through them, he realized it was a business plan for an art training center, detailing the location, enrollment situation, and costs. Zhou Ning then showed him the balance on the card, nearly 200,000 yuan, and said slowly, "We don't have much money, but you can start as a teacher, and I'll help with enrollment. Then, I'll hire 2 fresh graduates for you. What do you think?" Curious about how she managed to save so much money, especially considering the family expenses over the past 2 years, Jiang Jing asked. Zhou Ning smiled and said, "I've been writing novels. A few thousand a month. I've saved yours too." She added, "You don't like socializing or drinking. Just focus on teaching art." Embracing her, Jiang Jing agreed. "Okay." Jiang Jing threw himself into the establishment of Meijing Art Training Center with great passion. He took care of everything from interior design, enrollment posters, distributing flyers, to purchasing small gifts, doing it all himself. Every day, he worked while humming a tune, busy yet incredibly happy. The results were pleasing too. Although there weren't many students initially, Jiang Jing wasn't worried. He treated each student seriously, and gradually, everyone knew about Meijing Art Training Center and its teacher Jiang, who was not only good-looking but also gentle, patient, and talented in art, making the students fond of him. Through word of mouth, parents from nearby neighborhoods started to actively sign up their children, prompting Jiang Jing to prepare for branch campuses. 7 years after graduation, his career finally began to take off. He no longer had to hustle for a living every day, and every outing was filled with a sense of purpose and joy. Life rewards us in 2 ways. Either because we love something and invest equal love and passion into it, or because we fulfill our responsibilities by dedicating enough time and energy. Zhou Ning's writing career was gradually flourishing, with editors beginning to approach her for book deals, while Jiang Jing, starting as teacher Jiang, was promoted to principal Jiang. At this point, Zhou Ning's life finally broke free from the constraints of a startled bird, no longer worrying about income, no longer having nightmares every night, and no longer feeling unhappy. During a gathering with friends, they all teased, "Zhou Ning, what kind of supplements have you and your husband been taking? Your complexion is so good, like a pair of college sweethearts." Zhou Ning laughed and replied, "Yes, my husband is a big boy who never grows old." In a quiet moment, her friends asked, "Zhou Ning, did you really never consider divorce, even when you were anxious and sick?" Zhou Ning answered, "I was told my fate was not good since I was a child. Among several sisters, I was chosen by my parents and married off to another family, where they later had children of their own. Maybe I didn't have much, but I'm grateful for every blessing I received. Life is just about accepting what comes our way. I'm lucky to have held onto the happiness I wanted." Someone else asked, "Zhou Ning, I'm curious, what kind of love sustained you through it all?" Zhou Ning smiled and recounted the story of her first meeting with Jiang Jing. Zhou Ning first met Jiang Jing during her senior year in college when she was undergoing eye surgery at the ophthalmology hospital, where Jiang Jing's mother was also in the same ward. During the preoperative preparation time, Zhou Ning was restricted from going anywhere except the ophthalmology ward. Unable to leave or use her phone, she lay in bed, bored to tears, and her gaze began to follow Jiang Jing. From their conversation, Zhou learned that Jiang Jing was a sophomore at the School of Fine Arts, with attractive hands, probably not very active, fair-skinned, and shy. In the ward with 3 beds, another patient from the city seemed just as bored as Zhou. After resting with eyes closed for a while, she began to watch Jiang Jing's every move. She observed him tenderly wiping his mother's face with a towel, patiently picking out the scallions from her food, and gracefully moving around the room, causing his clothes to flutter in the breeze. Blushing under the scrutiny, Jiang Jing caught the attention of the patient in the neighboring bed, who teased Zhou, "Hey, girl, you're making the boy shy with your stares." Zhou was taken aback, feeling a bit embarrassed in hindsight. Because of this little incident, the 3 patients started chatting with eyes closed, sharing their situations and family stories, gradually becoming acquainted. Zhou spoke less and listened more, and Jiang Jing was the same. He wasn't as restless as other boys and didn't like to use his phone. He just sat quietly there, leaning against the wall, looking out the window. Observing him, Zhou couldn't help but think, he's truly a gentle boy. When he scratched his mother's itch, it seemed like he scratched his way into Zhou heart as well. Before Zhou surgery, the doctor emphasized multiple times that a caregiver must be present. However, Zhou college roommate, who had promised to accompany her, had to go out of town for a job interview. Zhou had no choice but to accept this. After the surgery, as she was wheeled back to the ward, Zhou endured the slight tingling sensation from the anesthesia wearing off. Thinking of her biological parents' indifference and her foster parents' coldness, and with few confidants, she suddenly felt a bit pitiful, and a tear escaped her eye. As sadness washed over her, she remembered the doctor's advice and suppressed her emotions. Just as she was about to wipe away the tear with her hand, someone gently wiped it away with a tissue. It was an infinitely gentle touch, accompanied by the faint scent of hand sanitizer. Those hands took care of her for 2 days, assisting her to the bathroom, helping her with meals, adjusting the blankets, until the bandages were removed. The tenderness shown to her in the dark world left a deep impression and would be remembered for a lifetime. After hearing Zhou story, her friends teased, "Oh, so it was a life-saving grace that led to love." Zhou chuckled, "Well, during those 2 days in the hospital, it did feel a bit like that. But in the years that followed in my marriage, it was not. My only thought was that divorce was not a panacea for life's troubles. For me, marriage has never been a siege, it's been a fortress. As long as love doesn't die, the fortress remains intact."